Have you ever noticed how two people can live in the same world, have the same 24 hours, and end up with completely different financial destinies? One drifts, one builds, one reacts, one designs. The painful truth? Wealth isn't random, it's behavioral. And most people never question the behaviors they inherited. You've probably met someone who seems permanently stuck, always tired, always overwhelmed, always convinced life dealt them the wrong cards. And then there's the other type. The person who quietly improves every year, sharpens their skills, learns faster than they lose, and somehow keeps widening the gap without making noise about it. That difference isn't luck, it's patterns. And most of those patterns are invisible unless someone points them out. My name is Alex, and I study the mechanics behind why people rise financially while others stay trapped in the same loop. If you're new here, consider subscribing, and not for motivation, but for clarity. Because once you understand the system behind money, you stop blaming yourself and start seeing pathways you didn't even know existed. So let me ask you this. If behaviors quietly build or quietly break wealth, which ones have been shaping your life? Today we're breaking down the hidden behavioral engine behind financial outcomes, and I promise at least one insight will hit uncomfortably close to home. Number 1, rich people read a lot. If you've ever wondered why certain people seem to make better decisions, spot opportunities earlier, or recover faster when things go wrong, here's the unglamorous truth. They read. And not casually, not when they have time. They treat reading the same way athletes treat training, as non-negotiable. The average CEO reads more than 50 books a year. The average person reads about 1.5, and usually chooses entertainment over education. That gap isn't about intelligence, it's about inputs. When you consistently feed your mind lightweight content, you end up making lightweight choices. But when you expose yourself to decades of someone else's failures, patterns, strategies, and breakthroughs compressed into a few hours of reading, you upgrade your decision-making in ways that compound for a lifetime. Think of books as a shortcut through thousands of expensive mistakes you no longer need to make yourself. It's like borrowing someone's brain for an afternoon, and the wealthy lean into that advantage relentlessly. They study biographies, business models, market history, human psychology, not because it sounds impressive, but because the world rewards people who see deeper than headlines and react slower than panic. Here's the part most people miss. Reading isn't about information. It's about calibration. Every lesson you absorb shifts how you interpret risk, opportunity, and timing. It sharpens your pattern recognition. It keeps your thinking flexible. And when your mind becomes a better operating system, your money naturally runs better programs. You can't outperform your inputs. Rich readers understand that. Everyone else eventually pays for it. Number 2, they believe they are responsible for their fate. If you look closely at people who consistently move forward in life, there's one belief they share almost universally. Nobody is coming to save them. Not the government, not the job, not the economy, not luck, not a more convenient version of the future. Wealthy people internalize this early. They see themselves as the primary driver of their outcomes, not a passenger hoping the road gets smoother. Meanwhile, most people live in a feedback loop of excuses. It's the market, it's the system, it's the boss, it's timing, it's someone else's fault. The problem isn't that these things aren't real, the problem is that none of them change when you complain about them. Ownership isn't about blame, it's about leverage. You can only improve the variables you control. Here's something rarely talked about. 86% of millionaires are self-made. That means they weren't rescued, they weren't connected, they weren't chosen. They built their outcome brick by brick, often while carrying heavier disadvantages than people who quit early. What separates them is not talent, it's responsibility. The moment you stop waiting for someone to hand you a better life, you start designing one. Think of your financial journey like a boat. If you don't steer it, the current makes the decisions for you. Most people drift because drifting feels easier than paddling. Wealthy individuals paddle even when it's inconvenient, even when it's slow, even when progress feels invisible. The day you become fully responsible for your direction is the day your direction starts to change. Number 3, they think in abundance, not scarcity. One of the biggest psychological divides between people who grow wealth and people who stay stuck is how they see the world's supply of opportunity. Scarcity thinkers walk through life like they're competing for the last slice of pizza. Every win feels like it came at someone else's expense. Every risk feels like a threat. Every idea feels too late. So they conserve, hesitate, and shrink. And ironically, the more they try to protect what they have, the faster it slips away. Abundance thinkers play a completely different game. They understand that wealth isn't a fixed pie. Value can be created, expanded, reinvented, or discovered in places most people never bother to look. They don't fear competition because they know innovation doesn't run out. They don't panic when industries shift because they know new frontiers appear the moment old ones collapse. Think about Bill Gates creating software long before most households even owned a computer, or Elon Musk building electric cars when the world still joked about them. These weren't lucky moments, they were abundant perspectives, the ability to see possibilities where others saw limits. Scarcity is emotionally comfortable, but financially lethal. It makes you spend your life trying not to lose. Abundance is uncomfortable at first, but transformative. It makes you spend your life exploring, observing, and asking the right question. Where is value about to appear next? The wealthy aren't delusional optimists. They're simply aware that opportunity has no shortage, just a shortage of people trained to notice it. Number 4, they play the long game. If there's one habit that quietly separates the wealthy from everyone who feels stuck, it's this. They think in decades, not days. Most people want to change their life by Friday. The wealthy are willing to spend 10 years building something that looks like it suddenly worked. That patience is a superpower, and a competitive advantage almost nobody uses. The truth is, meaningful wealth doesn't arrive in dramatic leaps. It arrives in slow, almost boring increments that compound when you're not paying attention. A skill sharpened every week, a habit maintained for years, a small investment left alone long enough to breathe. Nothing flashy, nothing viral, just discipline repeated long enough to become inevitable. Look at Warren Buffett. 99% of his net worth came after his 50th birthday. Not because he suddenly became smarter, but because compounding finally had enough time to do what compounding does. Most people underestimate what consistent effort can produce in 10 years, and massively overestimate what they can force in 12 months. That mismatch is why they quit right before the curve bends. The long game isn't glamorous. It demands patience when everyone else is rushing. It requires faith in the process when results are microscopic. It asks you to keep showing up long after motivation disappears. But here's the payoff. Once momentum finally tilts in your favor, it tilts hard. Wealthy people don't chase fast success. They chase durable success. And durability is built slowly, quietly, and long before anyone notices. Number 5, they go all in on their strengths. One of the quiet reasons wealthy people accelerate faster is that they stop trying to be well-rounded. They don't waste years trying to fix every weakness. They identify the thing they naturally do better than most, and then they double down on it until it becomes unfair. Most people never get that far because they spend their life trying to be average at everything instead of exceptional at one thing. You see this early. A kid shows talent in computers but struggles in French. What do most parents do? Hire a French tutor. The message is subtle but damaging. Don't get too good at what you're great at. Fix what makes you average. And schools reinforce the same pattern. Everyone must fit the same mold. Strengths are treated like hobbies and weaknesses are treated like emergencies. Wealthy people flip that logic. They understand that the world pays a premium for differentiated value, the thing you can do that others can't, or won't, or don't do as well. They spend years sharpening their edge, building depth, mastering the specifics of their craft. They know that talent is only the starting point. Hard work is the multiplier. But the work becomes easier when it's aligned with who you already are. Trying to be great at everything guarantees you'll be great at nothing. The wealthy choose a lane and build momentum. They specialize, they refine, they compound skill into opportunity. If you want to change your trajectory, stop fixing what makes you average and start investing in what makes you different. Number 6, they sacrifice the present for the future. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to break through while others stay stuck at the same level year after year, here's the uncomfortable truth. The wealthy are willing to give up things now that most people insist on keeping. Not forever, just long enough to build something real. While the average person is chasing quick comfort, another party, another distraction, another night of I'll start tomorrow, the wealthy are investing that same time into skills, relationships, and opportunities that compound. It's not because they're robots, it's because they understand math. They know the earlier you start, the more time you give your efforts to grow. Time is the most powerful multiplier, and most people waste it like it's refillable. The contrast is brutal, but honest. One group spends their free hours escaping reality. The other group spends theirs shaping it. One group binges entertainment. The other studies, practices, builds, experiments. One group waits for motivation. The other treats discipline like a muscle that grows with repetition. And here's the twist. The wealthy aren't making bigger sacrifices. They're making smarter ones. They postpone small pleasures today so they can enjoy bigger freedoms tomorrow. Not because they're perfect, because they're strategic. The future rich aren't grinding for ego. They're building for leverage. Every hour spent upgrading themselves is an hour that compounds for decades. Every hour spent drifting disappears. Sacrifice is not the price of success. It's the investment. And the earlier you make it, the longer it pays you back. Number 7, they set financial goals. Most people want more money, but they never define what more actually means. So they drift. They hustle blindly. They stress constantly. And at the end of the year, they wonder why nothing meaningful changed. Wealthy people avoid that trap because they don't operate on wishes, they operate on targets. A financial goal isn't a dream, it's math. And math gives direction. When a wealthy person decides they want to earn $100,000 this year, they don't fantasize about it. They break it down, that's $83.30 a month, about $274 a day. Suddenly, the path isn't abstract. It's clear. It forces the right questions. What skills do I need? What product must I sell? What value can I add? Where can I increase output? What new stream can I build? Financial goals create urgency without panic, pressure without burnout, clarity without confusion. They take your ambition out of your head and put it into your calendar. And here's the part most people miss. Wealthy people set goals on multiple time horizons. Daily goals tighten discipline. Monthly goals track progress. Yearly goals build direction. Long-term goals give meaning. They stack together like gears. When one turns, the others move. They also use simple systems to stay focused. Short-term goals go on the bathroom mirror. Medium-term goals sit in the wallet. Long-term goals get reviewed every few months. It's not fancy. It's consistent. Without a target, you're always off course. With one, even slow progress compounds. Wealthy people don't hope to earn more. They aim, measure, adjust, repeat. Number 8, rich sleep less than the poor. This point triggers people because they hear it the wrong way. Wealthy individuals aren't superhuman robots who survive on 3 hours of sleep. They're not glorifying exhaustion. What they are doing is making better use of the hours everyone else wastes. It's not about waking up early, it's about waking up with purpose. Most people don't struggle because they sleep too much. They struggle because the hours they're awake aren't used strategically. They drift through evenings, binge distractions, avoid the uncomfortable work, and then wonder why their life feels like it's stuck on repeat. The wealthy treat time differently. They compress progress. They learn faster. They execute quicker. They eliminate the mental clutter that eats entire days. There are 2 types of laziness the average person never admits. The first is obvious, avoiding work altogether. The second is disguised as comfort, knowing that learning a skill, starting a project, or improving a weakness would change everything. And still choosing not to. That second type quietly destroys more potential than anything else. Early-stage entrepreneurs routinely put in 12 to 14-hour days, not because they love suffering, but because they're building momentum. They're stacking skills, stacking opportunities, stacking leverage. Once the systems are in place, the hours decrease, but the results don't. Wealth isn't created by sleeping less. It's created by using the awake hours better than most people do. And when you know exactly what you're working toward, you don't need an alarm clock. Purpose wakes you up. Number 9, they have money work for them. If you strip wealth down to its core, everything comes back to one principle. The wealthy don't trade time for money, they trade money for systems. Most people earn $1 and immediately look for ways to spend it. Wealthy people earn $1 and immediately ask, where can this dollar go to bring back friends? That single question creates an entirely different financial life. Think of it this way. Every purchase is a vote for the future you want. A $100,000 car buys admiration for a moment. A $100,000 rental property buys income for years. One gives you a feeling, the other gives you freedom. But most people choose the feeling because it arrives faster. The wealthy choose the asset because it pays longer. Depreciating versus appreciating assets isn't a textbook idea, it's a lifestyle filter. Every time money comes in, wealthy individuals open a mental menu. Does this buy growth? Does this buy stability? Does this buy leverage? If the answer is no, they pass. Not because they're stingy, but because they're strategic. And investments don't have to be glamorous. Real estate, index funds, a small business, skills that upgrade earning power. All of these create invisible systems that work while you sleep. That's the point. Your money keeps moving even when you're not. Meanwhile, the average person works harder each year just to stay in place. Not because they're lazy, but because their dollars aren't working with them. Wealth becomes inevitable when money stops being a guest and starts becoming an employee. Number 10, they study other successful people. If you look at people who grow quickly, financially, professionally, or personally, there's a pattern that almost never fails. They're students of success, not fans, not spectators. Students. They pay attention to what works, what fails, and why certain decisions create momentum while others quietly destroy it. Most people only see the highlight reel. They see the business sale, the promotion, the lifestyle upgrade. Wealthy individuals study the moves behind those outcomes. They reverse engineer decisions, habits, timing, and positioning. They're less interested in how rich someone is and more interested in what sequence of choices got them there. This isn't about copying, it's about calibration. Observing successful people expands your internal playbook. You start recognizing patterns that repeat across industries, personalities, and eras, mental models, risk frameworks, opportunity filters, leverage points. These patterns become lenses that sharpen your own decision-making. Here's the subtle advantage. Studying success collapses time. You get decades of trial and error without paying the price. You start avoiding mistakes that others already stepped on. You begin to anticipate problems before they show up. Most people learn only from their own experience, which is slow, costly, and limited. Wealthy individuals learn from the experience of everyone ahead of them. When you surround your mind with stories of competence, resilience, and strategy, you naturally begin to move that way. Success becomes less mysterious, less intimidating, less random. You can't become what you never studied. Wealthy people know that, and they study accordingly. Number 11, they have mentors. One of the biggest accelerators in a wealthy person's life is something most people never even look for. A mentor, not a cheerleader, not a motivational quote page. A real human being who's already walked the path you're trying to walk and is willing to shorten it for you. Mentors are the fast-forward button in a world where most people keep hitting rewind. Here's the part nobody tells you. You can learn 1,000 lessons on your own, but a single conversation with the right mentor can save you 5 years of trial, error, and unnecessary pain. Wealthy individuals understand this. They don't try to navigate everything alone. They seek out people with scar tissue, not just opinions. They want guidance from someone who has receipts, not theories. A good mentor does 3 things extremely well. First, they correct your blind spots. Most people don't fail because of what they see. They fail because of what they never notice. Second, they compress your learning curve. When someone shows you the sequence instead of just the strategy, everything clicks faster. And third, they hold you to a higher standard than you hold for yourself. Not with pressure, but with clarity. What's ironic is that mentors aren't reserved for the wealthy. They're available to anyone who's willing to listen, ask better questions, and apply what they learn. But most people never seek them out because mentorship requires humility. And humility is rarer than talent. Wealth grows faster when wisdom isn't limited to your own experience. Mentors make sure of that. Number 12, they understand the world is changing. One of the most expensive mistakes a person can make is assuming the world will stay the same. Wealthy individuals avoid that trap by constantly scanning the horizon. They don't cling to the way things used to be. They study where things are going. That mindset isn't optional, it's survival. Most people anchor themselves to familiarity. They use old habits for new markets, old skills for new jobs, old assumptions for new realities. And then they're shocked when the world moves on without them. Wealthy people expect that shift. They assume industries will change, technology will evolve, and opportunities will migrate. Instead of fighting it, they adapt. Think about how fast value has moved over the last few decades. Cassettes were replaced by CDs. CDs were replaced by streaming. Entire empires rose and fell because companies either embraced change or refused to see it coming. The same pattern is happening right now in every sector: finance, media, energy, education, transportation. The pace isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. Wealthy individuals stay relevant because they study business models, watch consumer behavior, follow technological trends, and pay attention to early signals most people ignore. They don't panic when change arrives. They prepare for it long before the crowd notices. Here's the truth: the world doesn't care about your comfort zone. It rewards those who evolve and punishes those who freeze. Wealthy people embrace that reality early. They don't assume the future will look like the past. They build for the version of the world that's still on its way. Number 13, they don't protest or boycott, they produce. One pattern you'll notice among people who consistently build wealth is this: they spend far more time creating solutions than complaining about problems. It's not that they never feel frustrated, it's that frustration isn't their final destination. Poor and middle-class mindsets often get stuck in cycles of outrage, blame, and symbolic gestures that change nothing. Wealthy individuals channel that same energy into building something that actually moves the needle. Here's the uncomfortable truth: complaining feels productive even when it isn't. It gives you a temporary hit of certainty and self-righteousness, but it changes zero circumstances. Wealthy people understand this early. They know that every hour spent protesting what's wrong is an hour not invested in creating what's better. That doesn't mean wealthy people agree with everything around them. It means they focus on levers that generate impact: new products, new services, new jobs, new systems, new opportunities. Production is an influence. Value creation is power. The market pays problem solvers, not problem shouters. Think of it like this: two people see the same broken system. One holds a sign, the other builds a business that replaces the system altogether. One expresses frustration, the other creates alternatives. Guess who shapes the future? Wealthy individuals orient themselves towards solutions because solutions generate leverage. Protests generate emotion, but value creation generates momentum: financial, social, and personal. That's why the rich don't cling to drama. They outgrow it. Real power isn't in resisting what exists, it's in building what's next. Number 14, they focus on being healthy. If you spend any real time around wealthy individuals, you notice something quickly. They treat their health like an asset, not an afterthought. Most people ignore their body until something breaks. Wealthy people invest in theirs long before it does. Not because they're trying to be fitness influencers, but because they understand the simplest financial truth: you can't build a strong life with a weak foundation. Poor health is expensive. It drains energy, limits focus, shortens productive years, and turns small tasks into heavy ones. Wealthy individuals avoid that tax by staying ahead of it. They eat intentionally, they move their bodies, they track their habits, they protect their sleep, they prioritize mental clarity through meditation or reflection. Not perfectly, consistently. Here's the part most people overlook: health isn't just about looking fit, it's about decision-making capacity. When your mind is foggy, you make reactive choices. When your energy is low, you choose convenience over strategy. When your stress is unmanaged, you chase comfort instead of opportunity. Wealthy individuals guard their health because it protects their judgment. And judgment is where real money is made. Think of health as the engine behind every high-quality decision, every long-term project, every period of growth. If the engine sputters, the entire vehicle slows down. If the engine is strong, you move through life with power and stamina. The wealthy don't see health and wealth as separate topics. They see them as the same equation. Protect the body, sharpen the mind, and your earning power compounds naturally. Number 15, they make the world a better place. This is the point people argue with the most, usually because they confuse individual wealth with systemic unfairness. But if you zoom out and look at human progress objectively, one thing becomes clear: almost every breakthrough that improved life on this planet was funded, built, or accelerated by someone with resources. Wealthy individuals don't just benefit from progress, they bankroll it. Think about medicine. Vaccines, treatments, technologies, and research labs didn't appear out of goodwill alone. They required enormous risk, capital, and experimentation. Or look at exploration. Entire continents were mapped because private investors were willing to fund expeditions long before governments cared. Even today, innovations like reusable rockets, electric cars, and AI didn't appear because someone complained loudly on the internet. They appeared because someone wealthy took a huge bet. Here's the part that gets missed. Wealthy people who stay wealthy don't hoard. They build. They experiment. They fund bold ideas. They solve problems at scale. They push the boundary of what's possible because progress is the ultimate leverage. When you solve something valuable, the rewards echo for decades. Does every wealthy person do this? Of course not. But the pattern is hard to ignore. The biggest leaps in quality of life came from people who had the resources to try things others couldn't. The wealthy don't just accumulate money, they accumulate impact. And even if the world loves to critique them, most of the tools we depend on today exist because someone with resources decided the future could be bigger than the present. Bonus, they get paid on results, not time. If you want to understand the fastest shortcut to earning more, this is it. Wealthy individuals don't sell hours, they sell outcomes. Most people wake up every day locked into a system where their income is capped by time. 8 hours, one paycheck, work more, earn a little more, work less, earn less. It feels stable, but it's actually a ceiling disguised as comfort. Wealthy individuals break that ceiling by shifting to a results-based mindset. They ask, what problem can I solve? What outcome can I deliver? What value can I create? Not, how many hours will this take? When value becomes the metric, income stops being linear. A task that takes 1 hour but saves a client $50,000 isn't worth $25 each. It's worth whatever the outcome is worth. That's how wealth scales. Meanwhile, those who are paid by the hour unconsciously stretch tasks. They slow down. They fill time. They make the work fit the shift instead of making the outcome fit the goal. It's not laziness, it's how the system trains them. Wealthy people operate differently. They compress time, they look for leverage points, they build tools, processes, and skills that let them produce high-value results in less time than the average person needs just to get ready. They don't optimize for effort, they optimize for impact. When you switch from trading hours to delivering outcomes, everything changes. Your opportunities widen, your earning power multiplies. Your work becomes measured by effect, not endurance. The wealthy are paid for value, everyone else is paid for showing up. Key takeaways. If you strip everything down, here's the real takeaway. Wealth is not built by one big decision. It's built by dozens of small, repeatable behaviors that quietly stack over time. The rich aren't operating with secret advantages, they're operating with better defaults. They learn more because they read more. They grow more because they take responsibility sooner. They progress faster because they focus on strengths, not weaknesses. They get ahead because they think in years, not weekends. And they stay ahead because they adapt instead of resist. Every behavior on this list is a lever. Pull one, and your trajectory shifts a little. Pull several consistently, and the compound effect becomes undeniable. That's why wealthy people look lucky in hindsight. Not because chance favored them, but because their habits positioned them for moments others weren't prepared to see. So if you're looking for the one idea that matters most, it's this. Your financial life is being shaped every day by the habits you repeat and the assumptions you never question. Change the habits, upgrade the assumptions, and the outcomes will follow. Wealth isn't mysterious, it's behavioral. And the behaviors are now in your hands.